I'm the Iowa Prairie Girl, and I'm at Wilkinson Park today. It is the end of April. Tomorrow is May 1st. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I often come to Wilkinson Park in Rock Falls, Iowa to look for wildflowers. I also, maybe you don't know this, wrote a book. And my book is called Gentian Wakes the Mason Bees. In Gentian Wakes the Mason Bees, Gentian is a little fairy, and she lives at Wilkinson Park. She actually lives at the top of an oak tree, and I'm leaning against this oak tree where I like to pretend that Gentian lives. She lives in an old woodpecker cavity at the very tip top of this tree. And behind me here is a pond, and that pond is often referenced in my book as well, as Gentian has frequent visitors that come to the pond. So in Gentian Wakes the Mason Bees, it's springtime, and she is admiring the first wildflowers that bloom here at Wilkinson Park, and that's the early buttercup. And admiring the buttercup, she finds that it's full of pollen, but she is wondering why is it still full of pollen, and the buttercup is actually signaling to her that it needs help. And in the book, Gentian discovers that the early insects that visit or that live at Wilkinson Park have not emerged yet. They're still sleeping. And so in my book, the animals and the birds of Wilkinson Park help Gentian figure out what happened to the mason bees. And that leads Gentian on a big adventure in helping wake up the mason bees. So in my book, Gentian Wakes the Mason Bees, I would like to read to you the first couple chapters of my book. Gentian flew through the open picnic shelter. She was starting her day like every day, checking on her animal and wildflower friends at Wilkinson Park. It was a drizzly, cold spring morning, but it was spring. Gentian was glad to be outside, even if it was damp. Winter was finally over. She could smell the melted snow. Rain dripped on the rapidly moving river water, and in spite of the rain, bird calls filled the air. Gentian could see signs of spring all over the park. Orange-breasted robins pulled worms from the ground. Ants waking from hibernation poked their heads out of their small hills, trying to decide whether or not to brave the light rain. In the turning green grass, babies' bunnies raced and played while their parents nibbled on grass and wildflowers. Wildflowers! Gentian loved wildflowers. They were her favorite hobby. When she found one that was uniquely charming, it made her laugh and smile. Gentian even shared her name with the wildflower. Today, Gentian is hoping to find the wildflowers that always bloom first at Wilkinson Park, early buttercups. So you can find my book. It's written for young readers. You can find it on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. Or even better, you could have your independent bookstore order it for you. They can order it through Ingram or Lulu. So this is Iowa Prairie Girl coming to you from Wilkinson Park. As I always end my videos, I hope that you see something wonderful. In my book as well, there are activity pages that will teach you things about buttercups and about mason bees that aren't included in the story. And at the very end of the book, there's an activity page that will give you simple things that you can do in your home, in your garden, or in your yard that will help the insects or the pollinators that visit your yard. So please check out my book, Gentian Wakes the Mason Bees.